Hey, welcome back to Rust Order Garage. It's not too early in the morning, but it's morning and I've already been out here working on the bottom of this, getting it undercoated because it's swap meet season. So I'm spending the next couple of weekends, most of my time I'll be shopping for parts, which was yesterday as well. I drove out to the Carlisle, Pennsylvania swap meet, which was excellent for a fall swap meet. Walked all day, found parts as usual. I never walk out empty-handed, but I was amazed to find a trunk lid for my Studebaker Hawk that wasn't all rotted out. The only one there that I saw. That was a very big surprise. He even had a bunch of trim and stuff, but unfortunately most of his stuff was for the 62 up body style. So the deck lid will work if I fill some holes for my 61 Hawk, but the trim was all different, so I couldn't get anything, that kind of stuff. And we made a contact for Studebaker stuff for the Golden Hawk, so I think we're being in good shape. And I may be picking up another Hawk in a couple days. We'll see if there's a video on that or not. But right now, back on this, show you where we're at. There you go. I'm standing as far back as I can, but there's not a lot of room in here. The underside of the car is now black and all sealed up. So it's looking like a car again. Yep, nice and pretty and black, and no one will ever see it because it'll be under the car, but I'm glad that's done. So now, we can get this up in the air, hopefully back on the lift. I'm going to try to balance it so I don't have to strap it down and get in the air, and we get the chassis back in and start getting, say, moving forward to reassemble this car. All right, let's get this thing rotated over. I usually come along to rotate this thing because it's just easier to do. And I like to go slow with this thing rather than push on it because it just makes me nervous no matter how stable everything looks. We are looking good. All the underneath is done. I still have seam sealing to do inside the car on the firewall and some floors and stuff. All right. I think we are there. Same level, somewhat straight. I can just lift it myself, move it around. Go there. All right, now I got to push this thing pretty far forward. I'm going to try to not to have to strap it down, but I probably will anyway, just to be safe. All right, I've got this moved forward some, but next thing I got to do is lower this down to its lowest point, so this thing's not so high in the air anymore. I only had to be up in the air so I could turn it. If you ever buy one of these rotisseries, and I bought this one used, obviously, like everything I buy one with the jacks on it. It just makes life easier for changing the height on this thing. And right now, this thing has different notches for height. And I'm just lowering it one spot at a time because I don't want anything to bind up. So it'll take a couple minutes here. I'll get it down as low as it can go. It's got safety bolts I put in to keep it from moving, so that when the thing's on the rotisserie, it's not actually on the lift cylinders, it's being supported by the bolts, so don't wear out the cylinders. That should be the lowest point. Get the back down, and we'll start putting it on the lift. All right, new day. Let's try to get something done on this today. Got some time. So, body's in the air. We can start doing reassembly, really. I got to put the front brake calipers on this and run the front brake lines before I put the engine back on, just because they run under the pan, and it's probably easier to do it now. So we'll get that done while I got the room. And I just figured out we are now 4 months into the build. Started like first week of June, now first week of October. June, July, September, June, July, August, September. Yeah, okay. Yeah. 4 months spent on the build so far. We have changed it from a completely ready for the crusher, rotted out car to now it's a project car. Well, you can't see it in this shot because it's in the air, but let's get going on the chassis and then we can put it all back together. First thing, I'm just going to get the wheels off. And my rotor's got all surface rust on them from sitting outside, which means I guess we're really going to have to drive this to get the rust off of the rotors, because now they're orange. Look at that, just from sitting outside. I think it's because I had it covered up and the moisture couldn't get out. I'll give them a quick Scotch-Brite scuff and we'll get started on the calipers. All right, let's put this on. Remember, always put your bleeders up so you can actually bleed the brakes. Go. Those will clean the rust off. All right, and we'll get our bolts in. I'm a little bit off. Let's see. All right, calipers this caliper's on. I'll go put the other side on, and we'll do the brake hoses. All right, now I'm going to put my new brake hoses on. Come with new copper gaskets, reusing my banjo bolts. Nothing here to say other than sometimes they have to go a certain way. Like, you know, this hose, I could clamp it onto the caliper either direction, this way or this way, just, you know, rotating it. This could go up against it or this could go up against it. But you got to look, they'll be keyed. And the reason that is because the other end is keyed if you're using a factory bracket to hold the hose. And if you put this on upside down, then this end won't fit into that end. So we'll get this on and we'll move on to the lines. And for those new to this order of assembly, your banjo bolt, copper washer, then your hose, then another copper washer. So it looks like that. And then assemble it to the caliper. All right, in the middle of making brake lines. So the front lines are done. Just made those out of scrap nickel copper coil I had left over from another build. Nothing too fancy. It's really easy to work with this stuff, so I really like it. The only thing left, I think I'll do, I don't even know if it's really necessary. I was going to make spool pieces to come off the proportioning valve and run up to the front, but I can't make them permanent or anything because I don't know how long they need to be yet. So maybe with that done, I don't know. Would the engine be in the way of those lines? I think I should be able to get to them. I think I'll leave them off for now. Let's get the engine in. Time to put the engine back in. Or at least that's what we're going to try to do. Let's see. Without crashing into everything. Oh, I bet I need a jack under this thing. Let's see. I bet the frame is going to be too low. Right? Yep. That's the only thing I cannot stand about this Harbor Freight hoist. The legs are so high, they don't fit underneath anything without putting a jack in front of it. All right, here we go. Get this in the air high enough for the hoist to get under it. This has to go up. All right. Is it enough? I think so. This is in the way. Okay. Boy, this is a lot easier when there's no body on the frame. Let's see. I'll probably regret saying that. Let's see, how far? Let's come down a little bit. Gonna have to come back some more. Let's see. Transmission amount looks close. Okay. Now we gotta come back this way a little bit. All right, we're close. Let's see. Okay. Oof, we were just about there. Come back this way a little bit. Are we on? I don't think it's right. Is it right? No, it's close. We're not down all the way here. We're crooked. That's on. And that is on. All right, get the bolts in, and that is in there. All right, we're back out here after taking some time off for sure. I went to Hershey, did a couple days there at the swap meet. Didn't come back with a whole lot from Hershey. I did better at Carlisle. In fact, Hershey seems to be getting smaller every year. So today it's beautiful out, even though we had frost last night. So the weather is failing on me quickly as far as being able to work outside without any heat on. So I'm going to get done as much as I can. And like I said, videos are probably maybe some sporadic here and there because I've got so much to do before it does get cold. But one thing I am going to do right now before I can move on to something else is I need to get through everything that's in this Studebaker trunk. One thing before we start digging into the Studebaker, let me show you where we're at on the Rambler chassis because I've got it rolled out sort of here. So let me show you where we're at with that. And here is the Rambler chassis. I think I've done enough on it now that it's ready to go back attached to the body because there's just not enough time and I got to get some stuff done. So I got to get the body back on this as soon as possible. We could do more. We could build the drive shaft now. We could do some more brake lines. But I think it's just all going to get done after the body's back on. And while nobody was looking, I rebuilt the engine in red because I have seen Rambler engines, V8s in red. I think they were California engines, but around this vintage, they were not the metallic blue. So because we're doing a Concours 100-point restoration here, I painted it red, and I've got my 327 Rambler V8 stickers on the valve covers. I just made some plaques to bolt those on there. So just to confuse people at the car shows like I try to do. So that is where the chassis is right now, and it is pretty much ready to go. The body obviously is still in the air. We are done with all the undercoating. I found some paint that was close to the factory color, so just did a quick spray bomb on that. Areas nobody's ever going to see, but we got to cover up the primer with something. And firewall up there, same thing. The spots that I had done welding on, I just spray bombed them quick just to get them close to the color. So other than that, I think I got one thing left to do on this body shell before it's ready to go on. Well, actually, no, it can go on right now, but I forgot to fix this area. It's the last spot on the body I think I have to repair, and we'll be ready to go. All right, so I get it. You know, you post up a car like this and immediately everybody's like, restore it. Restore that car. Well, you know, you can't see from a video or even from pictures the condition of a car. So, like I was saying, and never buy a car by pictures alone, because this car looked pretty good in the pictures. Now, for me, parts car, I don't care. I'm not going to be surprised by anything I find. But if you had gone to buy this car and driven 3 hours for something solid you thought was solid anyway to restore, you would not have been happy. Don't get excited on pictures alone. I already showed you how bad the trunk was, held together with metal tape and just gone. Here's the inside of the trunk. It's all roof flashing. think a roofer owned this car. This were the battery cables. There's your industrial armor-clad protection. Those were the battery cables, although only the positive is encased. The negative is going right through the metal there. Did I show you this before? The whole side of the car, both sides, has roofing flashing screwed right into the body all along. The doors held together by metal tape as well. They're all rotted out. They're done. So this is the kind of stuff you don't see in pictures. Vinyl top. Maybe you can't tell by video. It's all bumpy. What does that mean? That means the roof's rotted out. The roof's going to be nothing but rust. Look at that. And once you start hammering into that and trying to clean that up, that roof is junk. This car is junk. It is. People got mad when I said that. I'm sorry. This thing's junk. Look at this. Glue on fender vents. Junk. You know, it's a good parts car. No doubt. It is an excellent parts car. But if you had driven down there thinking you were going to get a solid car that you were going to build, man, you would have been majorly disappointed. But as far as the parts car, it's excellent. It is time, at least I think it's time, put the body back on the frame on this thing. 61 Rambler, Rockbox wagon. You know, I've kind of gotten off on a tangent on different stuff, and I've lost my focus on this bill. Yeah, I try to just, keep my hands on one thing at a time, stay focused, and just push through and do the build. And I was doing that pretty well up to about last week. And then started going to swap meets and buying parts and just started thinking about other builds. And I got off track. So I need to get back on track here. We need to get this car built. I need to ignore everything else I have around here and get this car built. So no better way to get back on track than to reach a milestone of a project. So I think maybe once the body's back on, and maybe I'll change the wheels to a different wheel. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Just for looks, just to get my head back in line. But I think it's important to get this back on the frame. The problem I have is weather's turning quickly cold, as I had told you. I probably only have a couple weeks before I consider it to be not very nice out, like November 1st. We've been lucky lately. Last few years, November's not been so bad, but usually November 1st is my cut. Like, don't plan on doing any painting or anything else after that unless you can get some heat. But regardless, I have a lot of things to do. But let's get the body on here and try to get this assembled. All right, so I'm going to start lowering this body down. I have skates under the wheels, and we're going to see how it does. I have 3 of one style skate and 1 of another, so I don't know if the car is actually a little out of level. We'll see how it does when the body comes down. The other thing is, this is not just going to be a slam dunk. Even though I've had this all together, this body mount set that I'm using, let's face it, it was the cheapest one I could find because everything's expensive right now. Things have gotten ridiculous, so budget builds are tough to do. But the body mounts I had were completely shot. I couldn't reuse them. Come on, they were, what, how old is that? 40 years? 45 years? I mean, too old. They were shot. So I found polyurethane mount set that's supposed to be for a G-body. Whether it really is, I don't know. The heights of the pads look kind of not the same as what I had. So what's going to happen is when the body comes down, once it gets close, I'm going to have to see how things look. I mean, I can set it on the frame and then put the whole thing back up in the air again and try to get a look at how it looks on the frame, because I don't know exactly how things are going to hit. I may be shimming mounts or trimming mounts lower or whatever. Just an example, the 2 dummy mounts that go on the rear of the frame on the back, these polyurethanes are thicker than the originals. Now, I built my mounts on this body toward the original mounts. So if it looks silly and those mounts are holding up the body, I'm going to have to take them out and shave them down thinner to match the originals. So let's lower the body and see what happens. Here goes nothing. I don't know if we're lined up at all, but we're going to make this work somehow. And once we start coming down, I can get a better idea of where we are. Uh-oh. I got a problem. Oh, man. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Well, there's something I did not take into account. Oh, boy, I didn't think of that at all. The rear arms on the lift are going to crash into the rear tires. So, now I have to figure out what I'm going to do here. I may have to somehow have the body in the air and adjust the lift arms without getting this thing too tippy. Let me make adjustments. We'll come back. All right, so what I had to do was I took the rear wheels off the frame. The chassis, the back of the chassis is on the jack, low as I can get it, just to try to get the body down low enough where maybe I can start using jack stands to hold it up and move things around, because I don't want to dump the body, obviously, but I forgot, I put this thing on the lift off the rotisserie and I moved it forward to balance it, but now the rear lift arms are where the rear tires would be. I know I can't show you. I got, 3 pounds of crap in a 2-pound bag in here, but I can go down further now and try to get things lined up somewhat, but I really can't see how close I am until I get lower. So things are just going to have to come down. And I don't want to hit the engine, obviously. And I think we are too far back. I'd rather be too far forward just for safety. All right, we are clear. It's getting low enough where I can start looking inside to see where the shifter is. And we are pretty close to where we need to be. Let me get in the back. This is still over a little bit. Let me check the back of the frame, see where that is. All right, so now I've got a jack supporting the body, and I moved my boards and the lift arms out of the way. So now I should be able to get this down without crashing into anything. I'm going to see if I can raise the chassis back up and get my tires back on, because that would make things even easier. All right, we're getting closer. The whole frame has to go back. I have the rear wheels on. I should let them down. All right, I'm going to keep playing with this. I don't know if I'm going to record all of this, because it's, like I said, it's not just as simple as just do it. I got to pay attention to everything here, because this is, I know, really tight in the back here. And I gave it a little bit more room, but hopefully it was enough. But I got to keep going back and forth between adjusting the jack lower and the lift lower. I'll come back in a minute here when I at least have it set down. All right, I just went back and forth a few times. We are just about there as far as it being square and all that, I don't know yet. Not going to know until you get closer. But what I'm going to do up front here, grab a long Phillips head and go through the body mount into the hole in the body and see how that looks. And that's actually right there. So we may be looking good. Come down a little more. Touchdown! Well, not really. We're off the lift. Is it in the right place? I don't know. I'm going to lower the jack down, and then we'll end up putting the whole thing in the air with the frame and get a look from underneath and see where the body mounts line up with the holes. All right, it took a lot of jockeying around. I don't know why it was so difficult. Probably because it's not factory. But anyway, mounts are done. All polyurethane everywhere. Got them in. So it's a car again. Now we can actually build the car. So 4 months in and 2 weeks, we have something we can work with. So remember, if you haven't seen the original videos, this car was breaking in half, unibody, junk, gone. Now it's a car again. So we're getting there. I don't know what's going to be next. I have to wrap my head around it. I got so much going on. But at least this is done. So now this is movable again if I have to get out of here, because I want to get my Hawk into here for storage before winter. I also am doing an LS swap on a friend of mine's truck. So he's doing all the preliminary work to get ready for that, because he could do an engine swap no problem. He just doesn't know the computer side and that stuff. It's his first time dealing with an LS. So I've been buying him all the parts that he needs, and he is doing as much assembly as he can do at his place. Then the truck will come here and we'll do the wiring and do the fuel system tie-in. He's putting the gas tank in. So we'll run all the fuel lines and the wiring, like I said, and the programming is already done, already did that. And hopefully that thing will fire off, and then he can take it home and finish it up. So I got to figure out what's next on the Rambler. But what can I say other than so far so good?